George Dunham of Morning Muser fame on the ticket, and of course the voice of the North Texas Mean Green with us tonight.
Yes,
your voice worn out from calling all those touchdowns yesterday?
There's a bunch of them. There's 11 of them yesterday, Mike. That's a lot of touchdowns for the Mean Green yesterday.
A little more one-sided game than the one I saw in St. Louis today, that's for sure. Let's start with Mo Claiborne, who you heard from here just a moment ago. Obviously, he had a terrible game for most of the game today. Came up with a big play late, but it was that kind of game for the Cowboys, and Claiborne was kind of indicative of it.
It was, and it was good to see them, making plays. He makes a play. Carter makes a play, and he's been criticized quite a bit here this last year or so. And he got some help after giving up this huge one. And when they get down 21-0, I wonder how many sets here in this Metroplex turned off. They're not going to come back.
Well, our sales department's hoping not many, George.
But I don't think so. And you shouldn't. See, this is why you should stay with Fox 4 during these Cowboy games. I would imagine the feeling in the press box was, oh, wow, this one's going to get out of hand. It was a lot like that San Francisco game, but they stayed with it. And to the very end, when Claiborne makes that play, he got some help from J.J. Wilcox coming over, and I would almost credit Rod Marinelli with this interception because I think it was a really good defensive call. But the bottom line is they survived a lot of bad things, and they did enough good things to get a road win. I know it's the fourth straight year that they've started 2-1, so I don't know if I can draw any conclusions after 3 games of how good or how bad they are. But, hey, they got a win today that most teams would probably lose when you get down 21-0 in the NFL.
I think one of the themes of this game you're going to hear a lot about is the fact that they did stay with the run in spite of the fact they fell back 3 touchdowns. Murray, 100 yards on 24 carries. Dallas went to Murray 5 times in that 8-play drive that got them on the scoreboard for the first time when they were down 21-0. So maybe this is a legitimate shift in philosophy for this offense.
It might be. But, again, just like what kind of team are they, I think we need to see it for more than 3 games. But, yeah, I really like what I've seen out of them sticking with the run game, and I like what I saw the offensive line today. I think today was their best day of protection of Tony Romo. The one time that he was sacked, it got called off by a penalty. So I think their protection was really good today. And sometimes he did get stuffed, but they stuck with it. And I think that's what you do when you have a running game. It doesn't work for 5 yards every time. Sometimes you get negative plays or just a yard or two. But if you stick with it with a good back, you'll probably be rewarded for it.
Of course, every night after a game, we look at Romo and how he's progressing physically, or how we think he looks anyway. I thought in the first half he failed to make a couple of throws on the run, or spinning out of trouble. He couldn't get much on the football, but then he did put the big drive together to put the Cowboys ahead. What did you think of Tony today from a mobility standpoint?
He still doesn't look right. This run, you and I were talking earlier, he looks a little bit like Billy Kilmer here running for this first down. He doesn't look like the Romo of 5 or 6 years ago. But I was glad to see him, do it. If you're going to play, you got to do everything, and sometimes that means run. I thought this was a great drive. They converted some tough third downs. They got the break on the defensive holding. Well, actually, that was the next drive. But yeah, this drive that they took the lead. I don't know what else you would want out of Romo. He was right on the money, and that was some pretty tight coverage he was throwing into. I know he's not right yet, but I think he's been pretty good so far.
And not to be an apologist for Romo, but I do think he's still learning what he can do, what he's physically able to do game by game, and that's understandable. He's never felt quite like this before coming off this type of thing.
Yeah, I think it's a big adjustment for him, and now he's got the help of what we were talking about before. If they are a run-first offense, he's got that luxury that he's got a running game that can support him.
Let's talk more about this Dallas defense now. These are words I never thought I'd say, but I think they really missed Rolando McClain today, especially early in the game. Against the run, he's become an important part of this defense, and he wasn't there today.
Yeah, and they got gouged pretty good early by the running game. But Hitchens made a play. This goes back into what we were talking about earlier. They made plays today. Hitchens makes the play on the 4th and short. Carter makes the play there on the pick 6. And I don't know how good this defense is yet either, but they made some plays against a Rams team who were really not sure what they are either. Maybe they're like most of the NFL, or at least half of the NFL, and you got to beat those teams. And today the Cowboys were able to beat a team like the Rams.
Yeah, and we've said this a lot, that this was the kind of game you thought the Cowboys were going to have to win if they're going to have a chance to contend for the playoffs. There are going to be a lot of games like this where obviously you're gonna pay for a turnover like the one they made in the first half, but this defense is going to give up a lot of points. You just have to figure out a way to overcome that.
They are, and they're going to have some games where they'll have an opportunity, to keep up with the other offense. Next week could be a different story. I would think New Orleans would be licking their chops to go up against this Dallas defense.
Yeah, let's talk about down the road. The Saints do come in a week from tonight. They beat Minnesota 20-9 today. On one hand, you still have Drew Brees. You still have incredible weapons. On the other hand, they haven't been quite as explosive. Am I picking nits here? They haven't been quite as explosive
I think you're right.
as they have in the past.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. But I think that they still have enough to give Dallas a lot of trouble. You have to defend a lot of the field and swing passes and different layers of the passing game. And by judging from what we saw with San Francisco fans, I think they'll have home field advantage too. The Saints will.
they might. Yeah,
Sunday night.
There'll be a lot of Saints fans in that building, obviously, and they will be ready for that game, if you know what I mean. Last year, the Saints 40 first downs, 625 total yards, 242 yards rushing. And it reminds me, today the Cowboys were badly outgained in terms of total yardage. St. Louis had more first downs. They possessed the ball longer than Dallas did. So you look at this one, and it's kind of remarkable that the Cowboys got out of there with a win.
Yeah, it really is. But they got some equalizer plays. They got their pick six to make up for the one that they let up, and they got that field goal at the end of the first half by virtue of a turnover. And that's what got them back in the game. I'm a little shocked that they won. I really am, because it looked horrible early, and it looked predictably bad early, but they somehow dug themselves out of it.
Giorgio, thanks for coming in.
You bet.
And I know you got to get up early in the morning.
Yes, sir.
5:30 to 10, right? That's your
5:30 to 10 on 1310 AM and 96.7 FM. The Ticket.
All right. The Musers on the Ticket, and George Dunham, thanks. And
Thank
voice
you.
of the Mean Green as well.